So we have finally arrived to the thrilling conclusion of the Rise of China series by Epic History. This one is called The Economic Revolution That Made China a Superpower. So it'll be really cool to see just, this will be a real, full, what's the saying I'm looking for? A full circle moment. Yeah, I probably not got that right. But point is, seeing China a really bad state into now where they're about to enter their superpower era. So this will be really cool. And I'm really looking forward to seeing just how China became, powerful. Because even to this day, China is considered a world superpower. So I'm really looking forward to that. So, but first, before I jump right into this, I just want to say if you want to watch the original video by Epic History, the link is down in the description down below. And if you enjoy my content and you want to help me out in any way, shape, or form, feel free to please like, comment, and subscribe, and maybe consider becoming a member. It would really help me out a lot. Now, with that said, and now without any further ado, let's get to it, shall we? Let us finish this amazing series of The Rise of China by Epic History. Setting things right.
(1978), and China has a new leader, the 74-year-old Deng Xiaoping. Deng's record as a reformer, as well as his frank and avuncular manner, is a stark contrast to the memory of Mao Zedong. Deng is convinced that only the Chinese Communist Party can lead China to prosperity, but he also believes major reforms are necessary to do it. His views are echoed by prominent supporters Hu Yaobang and Zhao Ziyang, who Deng describes as his left and right hands. Together they promote the 4 modernizations in agriculture, industry, national defense, and science and technology. But there is also a growing number who question China's repressive system. Encouraged by Deng's talk of ideological liberation, activists stick up political posters along Beijing's Xidan Street. It becomes known as the Democracy Wall. Many of the posters criticize Mao and the Gang of Four. Deng Xiaoping tolerates this criticism of his predecessors, even as so-called big character posters spread across Beijing and other major cities. People have grievances and they should be allowed to express them, Deng tells.
Interesting. I wonder how he's gonna react when they if there's any. Definitely, I think there was definitely issues with Mao, as we saw last video, and considering this guy kind of had a really rocky relationship with Mao at times, I'm wondering if there might be a bit of maybe animosity is too big of a word, but a little bit of oh well. This is interesting though I'm wondering if he ever gets criticized, if he would have the exact same attitude. You get me? It kind of reminds me, I was watching a video and I think it was about Tiberius, the second Roman emperor after Augustus, and how early on his reign he was pretty chill with people kind of expressing their opinions. But I think it was later on when they started criticizing him more and more that he kind of got tired of it and then immediately changed tune. So I'm wondering if I'm wondering, you get me? But so far the impression I'm getting from the last video and this one is that he's going to help really get China moving, and overall probably have a really good, I guess, run as the top guy. So probably there won't be, any major, like, well, we'll see, we'll see. Like, I'm just wondering, like, his attitude. Like, I think it's easy to kind of be like, well, they can definitely talk about this guy bad, but I'm wondering, the real part that I'm interested in is, like, I wonder if he'll have the exact same attitude if people start talking about him and what he's doing in negative light. You get me?
An American journalist. Most posters are anonymous. But in December 1978, Wei Jingsheng, an electrician and former Red Guard, posts an essay entitled "The Fifth Modernization." Signing it with his real name and address, he argues that democracy is essential for the welfare of the Chinese people. Democracy, freedom, and happiness for all are our sole objectives in carrying out modernization, he writes. Now, the limits to the new spirit of openness are revealed. Wei Jingsheng and 30 other activists are arrested and given long jail sentences.
Alright, so that kind of helped solve some of my earlier thoughts. Alright, how far can you go with this? To be fair, that was pretty bold of him to just straight up put his name and, address. It's actually incredibly bold. I don't think I would have done that, personally. But, I guess that kind of goes to show people are starting to get more bold, right? And then, like, okay, well, hold your horses there, buddy. We're not going that far. Alright, good to see. Though there is still a little bit of wiggle room, I think, at least enough for people to post those things, but, there's still limits. Oh, dang, sorry, I missed the quote. Okay, to uphold socialism, we must eliminate poverty. Poverty is not socialism.
In March 1979, Deng Xiaoping introduces 4 basic principles. 1. Uphold the socialist road. 2. Uphold the dictatorship of the proletariat. 3. Uphold the leadership of the Communist Party. 4. Uphold Marxism, Leninism, Mao Zedong thought. Any misapprehension that Deng's reforms will include an end to one-party rule are firmly laid to rest. Nevertheless, his planned economic reforms are ambitious and far-reaching. Deng signals his desire to strengthen international relations and expand trade during a landmark visit to the United States.
Wow. I only went to a rodeo once in my life. I was in 3rd grade, and it was for one of my, field trips. That's the only time I ever went to a rodeo. I can't remember if I liked it or not, but I did like at least the idea of being there, kind of as an experience. But again, I never went back, so yeah. But it is interesting. Kind of cool that he's just sitting there. Oh yeah, I should probably talk. Yeah, I think it's just smart for him to do that, there is benefits with being a little more open to the world and trade, and as we kind of touched on last video, trying to, not be so isolationist, I guess, and, benefiting with stuff, even with the US, despite the communism and the difference of ideologies, there is kind of still that sense of, well, there is benefit, to both of us and trade and whatnot, so, we could maybe put this a little bit to the side. I think it's pragmatic, I think, or practical, so, smart overall.
It's the first by a Chinese leader since 1943.
Wow.
In Texas, his evident enjoyment of American traditions helps win over the crowds and underscores his pragmatic approach to China's foreign relations. Deng's goal is to lift millions of ordinary Chinese out of poverty and into the middle class. The means will be a new economic system, socialism with Chinese characteristics. For the first time, elements of market capitalism will be introduced into what has been a rigidly state-controlled communist model. Decisions will be decentralized, industries opened to private enterprise, and price controls loosened. However, the changes will be introduced cautiously, and all aspects of the economy will remain under close government supervision. Special economic zones will be the blazing beacons of China's new economic era. Inspired by the post-war booms in Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea and Japan, the first SEZs are all on the coast to facilitate foreign investment. They include Shenzhen, just 15 miles from Hong Kong, and Xiamen, opposite Taiwan. Many more will follow in the 1980s. The SEZs offer foreign investors access to China's plentiful cheap labour and raw materials, with less regulation and lower taxes. They are touted as gateways to China, ports through which a booming trade in imports and exports can be established. The SEZs are a massive success, attracting huge amounts of foreign investment, new factories, and jobs. In the countryside, Mao's mass collectivization programs are rolled back. Rural households are allocated their own land, with more freedom in how they choose to farm it. Over the next 6 years, 97% of peasant households move from collective to individual land ownership. Agricultural output increases by more than 60%. Hunger and famine, which have haunted Chinese peasants for millennia, become a thing of the past.
Wow. It's been the biggest problem this entire series, hasn't it? This whole, the people are starving, the little guy, as you would call those not as well off, just constantly, starving, not doing well. Finally, this big issue is fixed, and it took a lot of death, suffering, and a lot of some of Mao Zedong's attempts did not really work out. So I have to say, it's cool to see that this guy is just getting things done and really starting to fix a lot of issues that have been prevalent this entire series. So that's really cool to see.
Thousands of students and officials who had been exiled to rural areas during the Cultural Revolution are allowed to return to the cities and resume their functions. Entrance exams to universities, suspended during the Cultural Revolution, are reintroduced in 1977. And academic life resumes in universities across the country. Abroad, China continues to assert its influence as a major regional power. To the south, in Indochina, it has supported two communist insurgencies in Vietnam and Cambodia. After long struggles, both have secured control in their respective countries. But by the late 1970s, China's relations with communist Vietnam are deteriorating fast. After the Soviet China split, Vietnam sides with its other backer, the Soviet Union. In 1978, Vietnam invades Khmer Rouge-controlled Cambodia, led by Pol Pot, threatening to overthrow China's...
Pol Pot is another insane person. Like, looking at the amount of death he's caused, it's crazy. Like, some of the stories, I was actually looking at, like, his reign in Cambodia and some of the awful things that happened, and I was kind of like, it gave me one of those, like, oh, like, you know, like, when you're reading something, like up there with, what happened with some of Japan's, like, war crimes against China. It's just insane. Like, again, the 20th century saw so many... Isn't it so funny? I was thinking about this, how so many of these, like, really infamous people were kind of contemporaries to one another. You know, you had Hitler, and then Stalin, and then Pol Pot, and, you know, others. I mean, Mao Zedong's usually could be put up. I know we kind of talked about this, but some people kind of put Mao right there too. Point is, like, all these people were, like, in the same lifetime. Like, the more I think about it, I'm like, dude, the 20th century was crazy. like insane how much happened, and just all these guys were, like, in the same lifetime. You know? I don't know, that's just crazy to me. I was just thinking about it, I'm like, holy crap, you know?
Other regional ally. Outraged, China launches a limited invasion of Vietnam the following year. But it is a costly affair. Experienced Vietnamese forces inflict an estimated 20,000 casualties on the People's Liberation Army. Chinese military deficiencies are exposed, leading to a thorough overhaul and modernization of its armed forces. Attacking Vietnam...
Yeah, I will say though, something I'm finding really interesting is just this, like, tension between, you know, the USSR and communist China, and almost kind of now this rivalry. Like, it's so cool to see, because, you know, sometimes, like, when you think of, like, the oversimplification of, like, the Cold War era, it's like, okay, communists versus, you know, capitalism, US versus USSR, you know, just kind of like, you would think, oh, all the communists are, like, the same, they're all in the same camp, and whatnot, but it's not really like that. It's actually a bit more complicated, as all things are in real life, and, just seeing, like, the tension between China and the USSR, it's kind of just cool to see more about it, because I was aware of it, but it's cool to kind of see it more. And kind of, like I said, it feels like a rivalry to me.
Vietnam, a Soviet ally, does no harm to China's relations with the West, however, which continue to improve. Deng Xiaoping hosts state visits by the Prime Ministers of Great Britain and Japan, the President of France, and Queen Elizabeth II. Deng is Time magazine's Man of the Year.
Wow.
Twice.
Dude, look at him. His image, his stock is rising, as the kids say. Went from exiled, kind of getting pushed around at times, you know, and then just rising up to basically, let me fix this, let me make things better, and then just, you know, he's doing so much. I always do love a good reformer. Like I said, like, whenever reformers come along, I usually do take note of them. Like, I think of, like, Emperor Diocletian, who I really like for the most part. Like, a lot of his reforms and stuff were pretty great. Granted, though, he had some pretty big failings, but the point is, or like even Napoleon's reforms for France were great, and I just do like when just a guy shows up and then just proceeds to start making things better and just knows what they're doing and just getting on it, and I don't know, like I'm really really happy to be learning about him, because again, like after Mao Zedong, I don't really know much about what the heck is going on in China, other than like the news you'll hear in America, like, with usually Trump and, and his relationship with China and what the heck's going on there, and, like modern stuff. But it's cool to kind of be exploring this new territory that I've never explored before. And I'm like really impressed by Deng Xiaoping. I'm so nervous to say names. I'm like just referring to people as, oh yeah, this guy, because I am nervous and I don't want to like be disrespectful. But I'm really impressed by him so far, bro. Like he's earned his so far. I keep saying so far because I'm not sure if something bad's about to happen any minute now. But so far things are going really great. Good on him, bro. Man of the Year.
Deng even softens official language toward the old enemy, nationalist-controlled Taiwan. Communist China's stated strategy towards Taiwan becomes one of peaceful reunification rather than liberation. But Deng's offer to incorporate Taiwan into the People's Republic of China under a one country, two systems formula is rejected by Taiwan's president, Jiang Jingkuo, son of Chiang Kai-shek. China's new confidence abroad is seen in its promotion of pinyin, the new phonetic system for spelling Mandarin Chinese using the Latin alphabet.
Oh, wow.
The international media finally learns to call Peking Beijing. At home, however, the Communist Party's control over society remains as firm as ever. Since 1949, China's population has been growing at an unprecedented rate. This was the result of giant strides in public health, while Mao and the government had encouraged and rewarded large families. In just 30 years, China's population has nearly doubled, from 550 million to around 1 billion. It's a rate that many experts believe is unsustainable and harmful to prosperity. And so, in 1980, China introduces a one-child policy. For most families, a second child will now lead to heavy fines and other penalties. In some cases, there are even four.
Dang, they're suffering from success. I've been saying, like, it makes sense considering the amount of deaths we've witnessed. I'm like, dang, China, like, keep pumping out those kids because we're losing so many people. But, it's kind of like the opposite, where, like, Benito Mussolini was like, we're having the battle of the births, we need more kids. China's, like, the opposite. They're suffering from their success. They're like, we need to stop having so many kids. That's our problem. I don't know, I think maybe, I guess they both bring their issues, underpopulation and overpopulation, but man, just, that's funny. That's a funny thought.
Abortions and sterilization.
Oh boy.
The consequence will be a generation of single-child families with a strong gender imbalance in favor of males. Strict family planning laws are just one way that the Communist Party has transformed the roles and experience of women living in China. Mao declared that women hold half the sky, and in the 1950s he'd introduced laws to improve women's rights in marriage, divorce and property. By the late 70s, it is estimated that up to 90% of women based in urban areas are in work. In 1980, China is among the first to ratify the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. But ambitions and declarations do not always match reality. Women remain underrepresented in China's political and economic leadership. And as with much development in China, many reforms take much longer to reach rural communities. Progress is being made, but for many, not quickly enough.
Students, we came too late. Whatever you say and criticize about us is deserved. Oh.
For many, China's economic reforms fuel hopes for political change, especially with the rise to prominence of Hu Yaobang, Deng's old ally, now General Secretary of the party. Hu is an unusually outspoken and open-minded member of the Politburo. He advocates greater openness and challenges the privileges of the princelings, the children of senior Communist Party officials. He is hugely popular with the people. Many reformers hope he will, in time, succeed Deng as supreme leader. In 1986, popular discontent leads to student protests across China, with calls for greater openness and democracy. When Deng Xiaoping orders Hu to break up the student protests, he refuses. Hu is forced to resign and perform humiliating self-criticism in front of his colleagues.
Oh, wow.
2 years later, in the midst of a Politburo meeting, he has a heart attack and dies.
Oh.
The death of such a popular figure, seen as unfairly treated by an out-of-touch party, provokes a huge public reaction. Thousands of mourners gather in Beijing. They gravitate towards Tiananmen Square, where mourning turns into protest, just as it did after the death of Zhou Enlai. Exactly 70 years after the iconic protests of 1919, 100,000 students take part in demonstrations, once more calling for Mr. Democracy. On the 13th of May, hundreds begin a hunger strike, hoping to pressure the government into negotiations.
I want to say to the government, what we want is only the democracy, only the freedom of the speech, not overthrow the government. We support our government to go on the reform, economic reform and political reform.
The new party general secretary is Zhao Ziyang, another of Deng's protégés. On the 19th of May, Zhao visits the protest camp, expressing concern and sympathy. At 69, he is one of the younger members of the Politburo and tells students, "We are already old and do not matter." State Premier Li Peng is a far more conservative figure. He wins Deng's backing for a tough response to the protests. There will be no negotiations, no concessions. Instead, martial law is declared.
Dang.
And on the night of the 3rd of June, troops and tanks are sent in to clear Tiananmen Square by any means necessary. The result is a massacre. Official figures state that 218 civilians and 23 security personnel were killed, with several thousand injured.
Dang.
Many are skeptical of these numbers, believing the real death toll to be much higher. In the aftermath,
Yeah, I think I had heard about that. That's why I kind of was like, oh, the moment it popped up on screen, I just wanted to be sure. But I had heard of this event. Dang. Again, obviously, you know, I'm thinking like, kind of like, well, you know, if they're just asking for democracy, why not let them have it? I understand that things are very complicated, especially because I think China still at this point, you know, is communist, and there is a limit, obviously, to what people can say or do. I'm just thinking like my U.S. minded, like, oh yeah, you know, they're just asking for democracy, but it's a good thing to have, and freedom of speech, like, you know. Definitely at times I'm very happy to, you know, be here in America where people can just straight up, you know, we do have that, and I feel very fortunate to be where I am at, you know. But, you know, sometimes I think like, dang, I'm really happy to, I guess. You know, I guess that there are places where you can't really just say a lot or talk about your government too bad, so, you know, I definitely don't want to take for granted, the, well, yeah, I guess the right to speak, but at times there's some people it's a privilege, so, I don't know, it's interesting. Sorry, I'm just getting all into it. I'm like, dang, yeah, there are places where you gotta be careful what you say, and you can't really say much, and really gotta watch your words, so, yeah.
cameras capture a remarkable moment of defiance. A lone, anonymous man on Chang'an Avenue,
Oh!
blocking a column of tanks.
Oh, dang. Dude. Wow. That's such a power move, holy crap. That's just brave, though, like, you would not see me anywhere near a tank. Yeah, that's quite the statement, though, and the fact that the tanks won't hit them, so they try to move, but, oh dang, that's like a, that's a very powerful image there, you know? Oh boy.
The incident is seen around the world. Tank Man becomes a globally famous symbol of resistance to a
Tank Man? Okay, that's awesome. That's like a superhero waiting to happen, Tank Man. or like an anime like Chainsaw Man, but Tank Man. I don't know. But that's really cool. We don't know the guy's name. Like, was his identity ever verified? Well, let me Google this really quick. I need to now. Tank Man. Tank Man. Okay, protester. Oh, he was never identified. Apparently, according to Wikipedia. Wow, I wonder whatever happened to that guy. Like, what? I'm sorry, I'm just super invested in this man's, like, life now. Oh, and apparently there's the stage event theory. Sorry, I'm just going through this. I apologize. But, that's cool.
authoritarianism. Despite strict censorship, further reports and some footage of the bloody events emerge. The international media is quick to condemn the massacre. But the Chinese government never deviates from its official line. Speaking a few days after the event, Deng Xiaoping, now 84 years old, denounces the protests as a counter-revolutionary rebellion, fully warranting a military response. General Secretary Zhao Ziyang, who had gone to meet the protesters, is removed from office and spends 15 years under house arrest.
Wow.
Li Peng remains China's state premier for 9 more years. Later that year, Deng Xiaoping formally retires from frontline politics, and it appears he is handing power back to the party's reactionaries and conservatives. Deng's era of reforms has stalled. China seems to be going backwards.
Oh, wow.
What if this year...
Reform is China's second revolution.
The Tiananmen Square massacre badly damages China's international reputation, and once again the country finds itself isolated. Many contrast events in China with recent reforms in Taiwan, which has undergone a period of liberalization. Martial law had been lifted for the first time in 1987, paving the way for the island's first full parliamentary elections in 1991. The economy is booming, fueled by foreign investment and led by new companies such as the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC. Today, it's the world's largest chip maker, an industry that will transform Taiwan's economy. In contrast, China's perceived regression leads to a significant fall in foreign investment, as the United States and European Union impose sanctions. The World Bank suspends loans. Economic forecasts for China are downgraded. China's economic stagnation will stir Deng Xiaoping into action once more. In 1992, aged 87, he embarks on a southern tour, visiting successful special economic zones where he demands bolder leadership and greater energy in the drive for economic development. He dismisses the old dogma that a socialist state must be a planned economy, with no role for a capitalist market. Single-handedly, through his immense personal influence, Deng puts reform back at the center of the agenda. Though never explicitly stated, a new contract between the Chinese Communist Party and the people is being written. Legitimacy in exchange for growth, prosperity, and national resurgence. The party upholds its side of the deal. The 1992 Party Congress declares China a socialist market economy. From now on, markets, not the state, will set the prices for goods, services, labor, and capital. Many state-owned enterprises are reformed, privatized, or allowed to fail, as large-scale private businesses take over. GDP leaps from 3.9% in 1990 to 14.2% in 1992, and remains high for a decade. According to World Bank figures, in 1990, more than 80% of the population lived in extreme poverty. Over the next 30 years, that number plummets to 0%.
Oh, wow.
Some regard it as one of the greatest economic miracles in history. A vast multitude lifted out of extreme poverty.
Dang, that is beyond impressive, though. Wow.
In record time. But there's another side to this unprecedented economic boom. For decades, the Chinese government had subsidized housing and food. But now, price controls and parts of the social welfare system are removed. Many find themselves abandoned and struggling to get by. Now there is more unemployment, corruption, pollution, and dramatically rising inequality, especially between urban and rural populations. As a result, tens of millions of the rural poor move to booming cities, where strict residential permit requirements, known as the Hukou system, renders them second-class citizens, locked out of state benefits. In 1997, Deng Xiaoping dies, aged 92.
Dang. Yeah, talk about a long life. This dude did a lot in his... Like, he took, like, major power when he was, like, what, in his 70s? And he did a lot. Wow.
The scale of his legacy, though contested, is hard to overstate.
Certainly, like, it's like, you can't ignore it. He did a lot, and obviously there are things that, personally, obviously, I'd be, like, an American, might be like, you know, a bit iffy on, like, with the whole, like, the handling of the protests and stuff, but it's hard to deny that he did do a lot for China, and definitely set it on its course to becoming, pivotal there, like, very pivotal in becoming what it would become. So, it's really cool to, like, learn about him, considering that I wasn't really all that familiar with him before this began. Like, a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Impactful legacy that he left behind.
Under Deng's leadership, China's economic potential has finally been unleashed, and living standards have soared.
Yeah, and like I said, like, obviously, well, there's some things I was like, iffy about. He did do a lot. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's actually really good. Like, you addressed some issues that needed to really be addressed, you know? So, yeah.
To his admirers, Deng is one of the greatest statesmen of the 20th century. To his detractors, he used economic reforms to entrench one-party communist rule. The man who oversaw Mao's brutal anti-rightist campaigns of the 1950s remained true to the party to the end.
Our people are a great people. As long as we unite as one, there's no difficulty that we cannot overcome.
Deng's successor as paramount leader is Jiang Zemin. Jiang, politically conservative but an economic reformer, is known for his outgoing personality and is the first Chinese leader to speak both English and Russian. Working with State Premier Li Peng, he ensures the country holds its course, balancing a growing economy with a highly centralized state. Abroad, Jiang carries on Deng's cautious approach, described as choosing to hide one's talent and bide one's time. But world leaders now choose their words carefully, as their economies become increasingly dependent on Chinese trade.
And again, the trade with China, even to this day, is still talked about here in the US, making news, and again, like, became very aware of it when I was in high school, and then back, like, when Trump's presidency was during his first term, and, you know, the whole, situation with China, like, China and its trade and its economic, you know, presence in the world is still felt to this day. And it's really cool to finally see just how did we get there? How did China go from, you know, as we saw the beginning of this series, was not in the best of situations. It was kind of very poor, you know, very isolated, kind of being kicked around by outside forces from the West to even Japan, to just taking its place as kind of like this major player in the world to this day is very it's just a cool development to see. One of the best comebacks of a nation civilization has had, I feel like we've just witnessed in this series, which has just been really, like, interesting to see, you know?
In July 1997, Hong Kong is peacefully transferred from the United Kingdom to the People's Republic of China, marking the end of 156 years of colonial rule.
Wow.
It is a hugely symbolic moment for an increasingly assertive China, definitively turning the page on its century of humiliation. Two years later, Portugal returns Macau to China. Both territories are promised limited autonomy under a one country, two systems approach. Many predict that the rise of China's middle class will lead, inevitably, to increased demand for political rights. This, after all, is the lesson of 19th century Europe. US President Bill Clinton even warns China that its record on human rights puts it on the wrong side of history. Around the world, there is a confident assumption that prosperity will make China more like the West. In defiance of such expectations, the 21st century sees China continue to grow in economic power and international stature, while at home the Communist Party continues to rule virtually unopposed. In 2001, China joins the World Trade Organization. Chinese goods become cheaper and more competitive than ever. Within a few years, China is the world's largest exporter. More and more foreign companies offshore their manufacturing to China to take advantage of cheap labor. The Chinese economy grows at rates other nations can only dream of. 10, 12, then 14%. It is, the World Bank declares, the fastest sustained expansion by a major economy in history. The only thing keeping pace is the country's carbon emissions and air pollutants. In 2008, China hosts its first Olympic Games. It is the perfect stage to showcase a new China to the world, prosperous, confident, and ambitious.
My name.
The opening ceremony is an awe-inspiring spectacle that celebrates thousands of years of Chinese history. In 2009, China overtakes Japan to become the world's second largest economy, behind only the USA. Communist Party rule is not entirely uncontested. Far from Beijing, in Tibet and Xinjiang, there are protests over the perceived injustices of its rule. They are met with force and mass detention. The entire country, meanwhile, is subject to increasingly sophisticated surveillance and strict censorship. The Great Firewall helps to keep Chinese citizens safe from harmful foreign ideas, while the internet is continuously patrolled for any sign of dissent. The Communist Party guarantee of stability, security, and prosperity comes at a price. The freedoms that are taken for granted in many other parts of the world.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, yeah, I take for granted how, like, you know, a lot of my own freedoms. I'm like, dang, you know, seeing that like, other places, you know, it's not as available makes me more appreciative. Because, like, you know, you have the idea that this is the right. Like, a person can say what they want and should be allowed to say what they want. But, like, that's not a reality in a lot of places, or at least, you know, there's a lot of limits, so it is something like I'm like I gotta, you know, I'm really happy to be where I'm at, and I'm very appreciative of what I can say and, you know, how I can say it. But yeah, I had heard about like the censorship and the, you know, the limit to some things, like with the internet there. I've heard of it, but it's cool to see the Epic History kind of bring it up and, you know, verify that. Though to the full extent, I don't know, like, how much, monitored, because I think I've had some Chinese people comment, though, before, so I'm like, can you, like, see these videos, and, you know, like, I'm wondering, like, where's the limit with, the censorship, like, in YouTube, in China, like, what can you watch? I mean, it does kind of apply here. There are some videos that not available in this country. I've come across that too on this channel at times, so I'm like wondering if they have that, but, you know. Also the algorithm. Like, I remember when I went to, like, Nicaragua, like, over 10 years ago, they had, like, their own YouTube stores. Like, you think of YouTube stores here, right? Like, Markiplier, and stuff, like, American, and not to say they aren't known across other, you know, countries, but I remember when I was there, like, my foreign, as I called her, my foreign girlfriend, basically was, showing me, like, she was showing me these YouTube videos, and, you know, like, these, Spanish YouTubers who have, like, over 1 million subscribers. I've never heard of this guy. I'm just sitting here like, I've never heard of this guy, but she was talking about how he's super popular, and, you know, people in Nicaragua know him. So, like I said, I've never heard of him. So I guess it does depend, because they're, different areas and algorithm, right? I'm not gonna, here in America, and especially since I'm watching mainly English videos, I'm probably not gonna come across any foreign YouTubers, stars, and whatnot. I don't know, it's just interesting. I just realized how big YouTube and, like, the world is, and, you know, yeah, there's just so much. But yeah, like I was kind of getting into that. I'm like wondering like what's the limit and how much is there is censorship. Like I'm just wondering how far can you is it pushed in China, you get me?
In 2012, after 10 years of leadership, the cautious, technocratic Hu Jintao passes the baton to a new leader, Xi Jinping.
Yes, I know this man. Wasn't there like I'm not sure if it was a meme or a legit like you know issue, but like he was being compared to like Winnie the Pooh. And then like Winnie the Pooh was censored in China. I'm not sure if that was like a one giant joke or if that's like legitimately what happened. Is Winnie the Pooh censored in China? Wait, like I'm not sure, but like hearing about that, it's still the funniest thing ever. Um, Winnie the Pooh has become a symbol of resistance to China, though there is no comprehensive prohibition on all content related to the character. I grew up with Winnie the Pooh, like, you know, I don't know. That's something that's funny. Books and merchandise remain available, and two Winnie the Pooh themed attractions continue to operate at Hong Kong Disneyland. And oh, okay, very interesting. But apparently he was compared to this guy and something like that, which I'm just like that's hilarious. I don't know, but yeah. That's the main controversy I know around him. And obviously, whenever I look into China nowadays, his image is usually the one that pops up, which I guess shows like, yeah, he's in charge. Kind of like what like Putin to Russia. Like every time I hear about Russia, you always hear about Putin. So, yeah.
A century on from the abdication of the last Qing emperor, China is a country that has been utterly transformed.
Certainly.
The road has been long, bloody, and turbulent. But there is no doubt that the Middle Kingdom has resumed its natural place at the heart of global affairs.
What a journey we had with China. So much happened, and it went through so much, but ultimately, as of right now, came out much stronger. And obviously, as with any nation, there are issues and troubles and etc. But it's hard to deny that China is not prevalent in the world stage and has come far from where they were just like a century ago, or a little over, and then to this, like, talk about like one of the best comebacks ever, bro. And again, this series was really cool, though I'm kind of nervous when it finally comes onto YouTube and how the people will react to it. But it still was good to learn about all this, and overall, yeah, once again, another great epic history series. I'm really happy to have watched it, and you know, he didn't try to cover all China's history and like he did with kind of like with Russia. Like here, it's very condensed, just basically the rise of modern China as we know it, and I'm really happy he kept that focus. And overall, I'm really happy to have learned much more about China as a result. Because I've always been interested in Chinese history, and I know kind of like in the like I'm baffled by some things that happened sort of way. Granted, there's a lot of things that happen in this series that are like, oh my goodness, like with the high death kill counts and all that, I was just like, oh my gosh, it never ends. But here we are, and I'm glad we, you know, like I said, I always found Chinese history to be like one of the most interesting nation histories that I've ever covered, and it continues to still be like that. So overall, great video, great series by Epic History, and I can't wait to watch more in the future. I'll end the video right here, but this was great, guys. I enjoyed this very much, and I hope you enjoyed this journey with me. I'll see you tomorrow when we do something new. Bye, everyone.